And good day. We welcome you into the Deputy Podcast, the official podcast of the Oconee County Sheriff's Office SC. I'm Corporal Jimmy Watt, and we are glad that you are here today as we kick off a brand new feature on the Deputy Podcast, a feature in which we call In the Know. And over the next days, weeks, months to come here on the Deputy Podcast, whenever we have maybe a topic, a county ordinance, a law that we've received some questions about, or something we feel that you might want to know a little bit more about, we're going to feature that in the In the Know podcast here as part of the Deputy Podcast. And today we're going to start out with a topic that we have certainly received some questions about, and that is called the Oconee County Noise Ordinance. And we're going to read each section basically verbatim, and then we'll provide some examples and other things to kind of clarify some things in those particular sections. But we want to begin with Section 1232, so you see that on your screen there, but let's go ahead and read that together. And this kind of really provides a foundation for what we're going to talk about over the next several minutes. So, Section 1232 of the Oconee County Noise Ordinance reads as follows: that any noise of such character, intensity, or duration which substantially interferes with the comfortable enjoyment of persons of ordinary sensibilities occupying, owning, or controlling nearby properties, or of persons making use of public properties for their intended purposes, is hereby declared to be unlawful and to be a nuisance and is prohibited. So that section basically covers prohibited noises generally. And what we're going to talk about next is that standard of reasonableness and also the use of technology, because our Uniform Patrol Bureau on every shift does have access to at least 3 decibel meters. There may be a shift that may have more, but as a general rule, on a particular Uniform Patrol Bureau shift, our deputies are going to have at least 3 decibel meters that are going to be of use. And let's take a look at that section and we'll read it together. It is the intent of the county in regulating noise to take into account the latest scientific advances in noise measurement and control, while at the same time preserving common sense and common law determinations of what constitutes a disturbance or public nuisance. Therefore, technological sound level measurements, while desirable, shall not be required to demonstrate a violation of this article or any other ordinance or statute which establishes the creation of disturbance or public nuisance. Additionally, decibel level measurements less than those specified in this article may nonetheless establish a violation of this article when due regard is made for time, place, and circumstance of the noise. Now, in order for measurement requirements to be omitted, however, there must be 3 or more independent and individual complaints registered or 1 or more independent and individual complaint when combined with the complaint of the law enforcement officer. So basically what that says is that in lieu of a decibel meter not being available, if there's basically a pattern that has been established, then basically law enforcement can go about establishing and enforcing the noise ordinance from there. Now what we're going to discuss in Section 1234 is basically specific noises prohibited. Now understand, this is not a finite list per se. It may include some other things as well. But in the ordinance itself, these are specific noises prohibited. So let's begin reading with small letter A. Operation of certain instruments, devices, and equipment. Nuisance noises shall include, but not be limited to, the use or operation of the following instruments, devices, or pieces of equipment when operated in the manner prohibited by what we read previously in Section 1232. So, musical instruments is listed under number 1. For example, this would include things like drums or maybe guitars, electric guitars, which are amplified and do create, obviously, a louder sound of noise. Number 2 covers radios, receivers, stereos, televisions, disc players, tape players, and comparable mechanical and electronic devices which produce sound. Number 3, loudspeakers. So we mentioned amplifiers already, or other devices which enhance or influence the level of sound in any way. An example of this could be party speakers as well. Number 4, mechanical devices operated by compressed air, such as pneumatic drills and jackhammers. Number 5 is horns, sirens, and signal devices which use loud, brash, or harassing noises, whether on vehicles or otherwise. So an example of this might be someone who is in somebody's driveway who is continuously blowing a car horn, which would be not the purpose for which that particular device is installed on a motor vehicle. Number 6, motorized vehicles in operation, regardless of location, without mufflers or with ineffective mufflers, or where there is, say, for instance, a rapid throttling, advancing, the revving of an engine. Perhaps somebody is wanting to show off their vehicle, so they continuously rev their engine. And once again, that could be certainly a violation of the noise ordinance as listed here. Another specific noise that is prohibited according to the noise ordinance certainly is number 7. That's the human voice, when it's used to yell, shout, scream, or the like. Number 8, when operated between the hours, this is specific, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6:59 a.m. Construction machinery, heavy-duty equipment used in street repair and maintenance, domestic and commercial power tools, and the like, unless a permit is obtained. So if you're doing some general remodeling on the house, be respectful of your neighbors and understand that unless a permit is issued, that activity by the noise ordinance is prohibited between 10 p.m. in the evening and 6:59 a.m. the following morning. Number 9, of course, fireworks which are detonated within the exterior property line and in close proximity to a dwelling or occupied structure without consent of the person in control of the premises. Also, a detonation of carbide cannons, black powder or smokeless powder devices, or any explosive device or compound which, when detonated, causes a report which exceeds that caused by lawfully acquired fireworks and which disturbs the public peace. Now, a very important note to keep in mind, this subsection does not apply or shall not apply to lawfully obtained or acquired fireworks which are designated during the following holidays: 4th of July, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day. Under small letter B, there's a provision there for continuous or repeated noises. Now, regardless of the level of sound, the following by way of example and not limitation shall be deemed a nuisance and shall be prohibited once again under that section 1232 that we read a few minutes ago. Number 1, to keep any animal, including a bird, causing a frequent or loud continued noise, such as barking, howling, or screeching, disturbing the comfort and response of any person of ordinary sensibilities in the immediate vicinity. So, for instance, someone who has a barking dog, the dog continually barks regardless of the sound level. That certainly is a violation of the county noise ordinance as mentioned here. Number 2, to install or operate a burglar alarm system which uses an audible warning or bell without a functioning device that will shut off the warning or bell within 20 minutes after application of the system, when the alarm cannot be readily or conveniently silenced manually by persons who are disturbed by its activation. Each activation of such an alarm that continues beyond 20 minutes shall be deemed a separate offense. Now, in the next section, it covers some exemptions to the law, so we're going to go through those and read through those as well, point by point. So the following noises shall be exempt from the prohibitions of sections 1232. So the first one, this article does not apply to noise emanating from industrial, warehouse, distribution, and manufacturing activities and facilities and operations related thereto, government or governmental activities, emergency signal devices, of course, that are used by public safety agencies when responding to a call, firearms discharges as a result of lawful game hunting or lawfully operated shooting ranges, agricultural activities, which include livestock, parades, carnivals, school band practice or performances, and school or governmental sponsored athletic events. So if something is officially sanctioned by the school district of Oconee County, for example, or other official government authorities, it is exempt from the county noise ordinance. Number two, other code provisions notwithstanding, the sound produced by construction machinery, heavy-duty equipment, and machines and equipment used for construction, repair, cleaning, and maintenance of buildings, streets, or public or private premises when operated between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9:59 p.m. Such devices shall nevertheless be subject to the administrative stop order provisions of Section 1238, which we'll get to a little bit later. Number three, the sound produced by horns, sirens, and alarms used when authorized emergency vehicles or otherwise used as safety devices to alert persons to danger or attempted crime. However, this exemption shall not apply to improperly operating burglar alarms as identified in Section 1234.2. Small letter B. Number four, the sound produced by emergency repair measures necessary to restore public utilities or to restore property to a safe condition or to protect persons or property from imminent danger following an emergency, an accident, or a natural disaster. So the provisions of that exemption basically cover things such as removal of trees from the roadways in the case of a natural disaster, some type of tropical storm or tornado, but it would also cover things like water main breaks and then getting back to natural disasters, maybe after a severe thunderstorm where you have power lines and power poles down, to bring those operations back online, and what is necessary to do that is not a violation of the county noise ordinance. Number five, the sound produced by bells or chimes or other carillon instruments when used to signify the passage of hour, half-hour, or quarter-hour components, or to commemorate a wedding, funeral, or similar event, including regular religious services, provided the sound does not exceed 5 continuous minutes in duration in any 1 hour period. Number 6 covers the sound produced by the following, provided there is compliance with all federal laws applicable to the noise. So under small letter A, we're talking about aircraft in flight or in operation at an airport. B would cover railroad equipment in operation on railroad right-of-ways or motor vehicles otherwise in lawful operation on all public streets and highways. But once again, we did cover back in one of the previous sections about a vehicle, for example, that may not have a muffler. So once again, exemption would be a motor vehicle that is operating lawfully on the roads and highways around the county. Number 7, the sound of water splashing produced by any waterfall, stream, decorative water fountain, or irrigation device when established or operated in an ordinary and customary manner. Number 8 is also very important as well because it says additionally, this article does not apply to noise between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9:59 p.m., which emanates from lawn and yard maintenance activities, tree harvesting or clearing, or explosives for construction and land clearing. So between the times of 7 a.m. and 9:59 p.m., if you're using a lawnmower, a weed eater, perhaps a chainsaw, maybe using equipment for land clearing, this is not a violation of the county noise ordinance between these particular times. Number 9, the unamplified sound emanating from a ballpark, a playing field, a stadium, or comparable outdoor facility designed and intended for recreational or sports activities when used for organized exhibitions or participatory sports or recreational activities. So, for instance, the unamplified sound that is emanating from a stadium during a high school football game, that sound is not something, or is basically exempt from the county noise ordinance. And finally, number 10, any lawful business operating as of the date of this article that is not in compliance with this article and does not fall under exceptions set out in this article shall have 6 months from the date of the ordinance from which this article derives to come into compliance with this article. The next section covers in 1236 environmental factors. How is the law enforced? So in the enforcement of this article, an enforcement officer may be required to exercise judgment in determining if a particular noise is sufficiently loud or otherwise so offensive that it would substantially interfere with persons occupying nearby public or private property. So when making such determinations, the enforcement officer may consider the following and other relevant factors, and there's 6 of them. So the first one is the volume of the noise, but also it's the intensity of the noise. So say, for instance, there's a vehicle that is going down the road. It has perhaps a loud bass sound that is emanating from that vehicle that rumbles a house. An officer has a right to take into consideration not only how loud it is, but also the intensity of that noise when making a determination of enforcement factors. Number 3, whether the noise or nature of the noise is usual or unusual, whether the origin of the noise is natural or unnatural. Number 5, the type and intensity of ambient noise, if any, and the nature and zoning of the area in which the noise is heard. Let's talk a little bit about ambient noise for a second, because that is something that is actually covered in the county noise ordinance. So this is the definition in the ordinance of ambient noise. It means the generally prevailing sound or combination of sounds at the location where a listener receives the sound of the noise about which a complaint is being made. It is the sound or combination of sounds which a person, once again, of ordinary sensibilities, which was something that we mentioned previously in section 1232, would reasonably expect to encounter at the location in the ordinary and customary use of the premises. Now, the next section covers special permits for, first of all, entertainment or recreational activities. And what the ordinance reads is whenever the county administrator or his or her designee issues on a temporary basis special permits for events of an entertainment or recreational nature, then those events shall be exempt from the prohibitions of this article, provided noise is otherwise regulated in the supervision of the activity, and provided that the permit shall be subject to revocation at the discretion of the county administrator or their designee on the basis of violation of permit conditions or excessive or inappropriate noise. Whenever such revocation occurs, the activities of the event shall then become subject to the prohibitions of this article. So these cover temporary special permits. However, they are subject to revocation, and if that particular permit is pulled, then that particular event would still, of course, would have to comply at that point with the provisions of the county noise ordinance. So we'll move on now to lowercase b, construction of maintenance operations. The county administrator or their designee may issue a permit exempting specific construction, solid waste pickup arrangements, and maintenance of public streets and right-of-ways from the prohibitions of this article otherwise applicable to nighttime, which is from 10 p.m. in the evening to 6:58 or 6:59 a.m. the following morning. Once again, prohibitions of this article otherwise applicable to nighttime activity, provided the person seeking such a permit can make a showing that no reasonable alternatives exist to creating the noise at night and the activity involved is compatible with the public interest. And then we'll move on to lowercase c. Specific and limited permits may be issued and allowed upon request for the purposes of public enjoyment, celebrations, concerts, performances, and holidays, and to promote interest in tourism in the county. Noise ordinance standards for such events shall be allowed, measured, and enforced at the furthermost boundary line of the event grounds and shall be regulated to a maximum of 85 weighted average decibels per minute. So there is a standard for those events, and once again, with our uniform patrol bureaus, those particular shifts will have at the very least 3 or more decibel meters that they can use, as well as we mentioned earlier. Want to go on to the next section, 1238, administrative stop orders. The county administrator or their designee may issue administrative stop orders to prohibit temporarily or to reschedule activities otherwise exempt under this article when the continuation of the activity imposes a great hardship or substantial and aggravating inconvenience upon persons reasonably occupying or utilizing nearby premises, provided such administrative stop order is not used to prohibit completely an otherwise lawful activity, and the county administrator or his designee gives due consideration to balancing the hardships involved. So we'll move on to our next section. This is section 1239. This is measurement, of course, of noise level, establishment of prima facie violation. A prima facie violation of section 1232 shall be established whenever a measurement of the offending noise shall be taken in accordance with this article and shown to produce a level of noise in excess of 70 decibels between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9:59 p.m., or in excess of 60 decibels between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6:59 a.m. Any sound exceeding such levels is hereby declared a nuisance and is prohibited. Lowercase b, the inference established in of subsection 1239A shall be subject to rebuttal based on the time, place, and circumstances of the ordinance. We'll move on to subsection C. Noise levels identified shall be measured in decibels and A-weighted, with the unit of measurement being designated, of course, by, as we said, the decibels, and A-weighted as well. And for the purpose of determining this, the noise shall be measured on the A-weighting scale and the slow meter response on a sound level meter of standard design and quality, having characteristics established by the American National Standards Institute. So the ordinance provides some guidance and instructions, and also for not only the standard use of the meters, but also what their proper use is as well in establishing that standard of the meters, I should say. Lowercase d, measurement shall be taken as to provide a reasonable representation of the sound being measured with due regard to the location where the noise is heard by any person making a complaint. If no complaint has been made, enforcement officers shall measure the noise from a point approximately 100 feet from the point from which the noise is emanating. Precise positioning of the meter, however, is not required. And another thing to keep in mind, and we'll discuss this here in just a few minutes, that our deputies are not required to have a complaint that has been filed or someone calling into our dispatch regarding a complaint of a noise that could be in violation of the noise ordinance. If our deputies hear of something that they think may be in violation of that, then they have a right to conduct an investigation into that without a complaint being filed. So we'll move on now to Section 1240, Enforcement Procedures, Penalty, Additional Remedies. So small letter A, with respect to suspected ordinance violations resulting from vehicle noise, law enforcement officers shall have the authority to charge persons under the provision of this article without having received a complaint from a member of the public, as we discussed earlier. So a deputy comes across a vehicle that does not have a muffler, is creating a loud sound that is a potential violation of the noise ordinance, then that particular deputy, in his or her discretion, has a right to conduct a lawful traffic stop on that vehicle and then proceed with an investigation and issue whatever citations that they can issue based upon a violation of the county noise ordinance. Small letter B, law enforcement officers in the ordinary course of their duties shall have the authority to request compliance with the provision of this article without having received a complaint from a member of the public. Once again, if there is a loud party going on, the deputy observes perhaps loud noise emanating from a residence, they have a right to conduct an investigation based upon the county noise ordinance and take whatever measures are necessary from that point as a result of their investigation. Small letter C, law enforcement officers may take any one of the following actions in accordance with this article. Number one, they can warn the offender, who will then have the opportunity to immediately abate the offending noise without penalty. If the violation continues or reoccurs, the officer may cite, or they have the authority in that case to arrest the violator. A warning and opportunity to abate the offending noise is not required. However, if the officer deems citation or arrest immediately necessary under the circumstances then present. Number two, issue a courtesy summons or other properly authorized citation device for the offender to appear in a magistrate court. And number three, they can make a custodial arrest. So one thing to keep in mind, of course, under these provisions of the county noise ordinance, as we read here, each circumstance is different, and each circumstance will be looked upon in regards to its own merits and under the circumstances that are presented to that deputy during the course of the investigation. We'll move on to owner responsibility. No property owner shall allow a violation of this article to be created or maintained on or at his property. A property owner shall be responsible and liable for any violations of this article by tenants, guests, licensees, or other occupants in, on, or at the owner's property if the owner is present at the time of the violations or has actual or constructive knowledge of a potential violation. So once again, you're the owner of a property and you're allowing a certain activity such as a party basically to go on at that particular property. There is a violation of the county noise ordinance, and you as the property owner can be held liable in regards to or responsible for any violations that occur on that property as part of the county noise ordinance. And finally, we're going to cover and read Section 1242, talking about penalties, and let's read that together. Any person violating any provision of this article shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor and shall for every offense be punished in accordance with Section 1-7. Each day on which there is a violation, or every separate and distinct event constituting a violation of this article shall constitute a separate and distinct violation and offense under this article. The county may also seek injunctive or other relief as appropriate. So after checking with the magistrate's office here in Oconee County, maximum fine for each violation of the county noise ordinance is $1,087.50. $2.50. Of course, judges do have discretion to set fines and other things as well as they so choose. And keep in mind what this section basically means is that a violator can be charged for each subsequent violation of the noise ordinance. So please keep that in mind. It could be separate violations, charged for separate violations, and of course subsequent violations as well. So we thank you for joining us on this edition of the Deputy Podcast. Of course, the In You Know segment, and we'll have some more features as time goes along. Make sure to click the link at the bottom of the screen that you see there if you'd like to download and or print a copy of the County Noise Ordinance. You're certainly more than welcome to do so. And if you have any additional questions regarding the County Noise Ordinance, perhaps you want to report a violation or what you believe to be a violation, you can get in contact with the Oconee County Sheriff's Office. Our non-emergency line is 864-638-4111. And when you call and speak to one of our dispatchers, make sure if you have any questions or want to file a report or have a possible violation of the county noise ordinance investigated further, make sure to ask and speak with a deputy from our Uniform Patrol Bureau. We thank you for watching this edition of the Deputy Podcast, the official podcast of the Oconee County Sheriff's Office SC.